Okay, we got a question from MGLTT who's asking, right, your question is, you have a group of under 10-year-old girls and you say they have no idea what to do. They just get the ball, and when they get the ball, they kick it up the field, and this is in futsal and also in normal play. So the question is, what do I do? What do I teach them in practices? What can I do every practice that's gonna help them grow, help them have more fun playing? There are four things you could do every single training session that by the end of the season they're going to be better players, they're going to be able to have more fun in the game. And these are some simple fundamental things that are fun to do. I think they're fun to do, and then they range from kind of fun to very fun. So let's walk through them. I think every session, no matter what, even as personally as a coach, you want to start with a warm-up just to prevent injuries, right? Get the blood flowing. You're literally warming up your muscles, tendons, and ligaments. Super important. Neck rolls, right? You got to look up, if you haven't instilled in them how to warm up properly, you got to lead them yourself. You got to look up a decent warm-up. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Step 2, if you download Cover Skills Mastery, right? COERVER. There's an app where you could look up moves online. Each practice you teach them one move, and then you have them revisit the move from the last practice. So for example, you could teach them you could teach them toe touches, right? Toe taps, or you could teach them some shuffles, right? Inside the foot shuffles. And then there's a progression, right? So that it's shuffle, stop, shuffle, stop, shuffle, stop, right? So a progression of moves that you want to increase their soccer vocabulary, so that by the end of the season, let's say you had to do one move every practice, once every week, something like that, then they're gonna build their skills, their dribbling skills, which is gonna help them pick their heads up so that they can make better decisions. So that would be, right, so it's warm up, then it's 5 to 10 to 15 minutes of ball skills mastery with different size balls. And then what one of my soccer trainers would have us do is called dribbling sequences. So the first one goes outside, outside, inside, outside, inside. That's with one foot, then you switch feet. And he's saying this out loud and telling us to say it out loud when we're doing it, right? We're doing it slow. Outside, outside, inside, outside, inside with the other foot. Then you switch back to the other foot, right? Outside, outside, inside, outside, inside. Outside, outside, inside, outside, inside. So once you practice this dribbling pattern, it's a fundamental pattern, because what it does is, once you master it, right, muscle memory, you can combine it with other moves. So with one foot, let's say with your right foot, you go outside, outside, inside, outside, scissor. And then you take the other foot, outside, outside, inside, outside, scissor. Or you can go outside, outside, inside, chop. Outside, outside, inside, chop. Right? So that's the framework, that's the pattern. Outside, inside, and then it's a skills move. Right? So once you learn just that basic sequence, outside, inside, outside, it gives you a foundation for all other skills development moves. And I think it's a lot of people don't know about dribbling sequences, so I think that's something that could be very helpful. The next thing we would do is called the barrel game. And the barrel game, what it teaches is it teaches players the ability to juggle the ball while moving forward. And we used to use a landscaper barrel, but you could use a garbage can, you could use a hamper, a basket. When I coached youth, I coached middle school boys, so almost the same age as these U10 girls, and I had only one garbage can, and I had the whole team line up in a big circle surrounding the barrel. And then you start with the right foot. They got to juggle the ball with a bounce, so they kick it with the right foot, bounce, kick it right foot, bounce, kick it right foot into the barrel. And if you mess up, you got to start back to where you were. So you go right foot with a bounce, then left foot with a bounce, then alternating feet with a bounce, then it's right thigh, left thigh, both thighs, and then you finish with any body part you want. So, right, you want to make it challenging and you want to make it fun. So, encourage using a bounce, and if they're bumping into each other, that's okay, right? Just like in game, people are gonna be bumping into you, and you want to have them start where they're close enough where it's challenging, but far enough where they can't just get it where, you can't cheat on it, right? You want to be not so far away where, right? You want to have it just right, that Goldilocks somewhere in that Goldilocks area, somewhere just right. And the last thing we would do, and keep in mind, this is the same thing I ran my boys team through, and then after the season, all the parents were like, it worked for me, and I've just put my kids through the same thing, and it worked for them. So you could do the same thing and see a tremendous improvement if you just run the same pattern. The last thing we would finish on is 1v1 with a small ball, right? You need to get a couple size 1 or size 2 balls, and each player has a cone, and this is going to help them train 1v1 battles, and improve their ball skills, right? Because you're trying to knock each other's cones over, you go from offense to defense pretty quickly, and then you say best of 3, and then after a few minutes you switch over. So each kind of section's it's almost between 5 and 10 to 15 minutes, right? Warm up, then ball mastery, and you could combine ball mastery and dribbling sequences. Then it's barrel game, right? Barrel game, and then finishing on 1v1 to cones. And right, so 1v1 to cones it kind of can scale up to where, okay, now you're playing possession and it's 11v11, but it's still the same concept, right? But when you shrink it down, right, soccer is just it's like 1v1 with cones, right? Except you just add a goalkeeper. So you can use that as a template and run that back every single session, especially if they're at such a low, their skills are so not developed, right? This is going to develop fundamental skills. It's ball mastery, it's juggling, and then it's being comfortable doing 1v1 play. And I would stick with that. Because then they can look forward to doing the 1v1 competition. Barrel game is a lot of fun once they get the hang of it, and even the worst players, right? You stick with this pattern, and if as long as you're encouraging with them, I think they're going to get a lot of benefits from it. What else do I want to say? Oh, in terms of what to do, you just tell them, okay, the goal is to keep the ball, right? If you keep the ball, then you can progress up the field, and then eventually score on goal. So this is what I want you to tell them. You tell them, keep the ball, get the ball out wide to the wingers, advance it up the field, and then cross the ball in and score. You do that every time. You win the ball, you keep the ball, find out who on the other team is the weaker of their defenders, and then you start playing. Let's say they have a weak right back, then you want to get it to, Cindy or like Tanya, whatever her name is. If you have a fast left winger and they have a bad right winger, you get it to her every time, and you cross the ball in and you punish them, right? Same thing, if they got a weak left defender, then you get it to your right side, right winger, right forward, penetrate up the line, whip the ball in, and then crush them, right? And this is a basic framework, because then they get it. They're like, oh, okay, keep the ball, get it to my fast player, whip it in, and then all the players come and crash, right? That's a simple concept players can understand. Another thing you might want to teach them is that just say, take them aside, or before, after training, and say, or even before the start of a game, and just say, when you're defending, you want to compress, right? You want to shift towards defending your own goal, and you want to compress their movement. You want to compress, and then when you're attacking, you want to expand, right? So when you're compressing, you're closing off passing lanes, and you're shifting towards your goal to protect it. When you're attacking, you're spreading out, making more room for players and for space, and attacking lanes, so then it frees up the field, so you have more room to attack and penetrate and score. So those are some fundamental concepts that if you can communicate, that they might be receptive to, that are pretty easy to understand. So I think that would be my place to start. So reach out with any questions, and thanks for your time. Okay.